Welcome to the Michigan Short-Term Rentals Podcast. My name's Tony Stancato here with my co-host Jordan Painter. What's up, man?
Dude, we are coming off one of the best weekends I can remember in recent history. We had an epic party for Tony on Saturday. Got some steaks at the Chop House downtown Grand Rapids. Went to Grand Rapids Grand Prix. We almost got in a fight at the end. It was close. We're almost flying, man.
I don't know about
so
that,
hard,
dude.
This
Come
guy.
on.
This guy.
If I wouldn't have T-boned you, maybe, but all is good, you know. So didn't realize we were. I didn't realize we were driving like that. Otherwise, I would have been on my guard a little bit. But somebody came out swinging, playing nasty, you know. So hey, comes around, goes around, right?
Somebody may or may not have ran Tony directly into a wall, causing him to dead stop. And then I got T-boned, so he got his licks in. It was a good time. Super fun. If you guys have, if people listen, if you haven't been to that thing, way faster than the average go-kart, and it's a riot. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. Good group of guys too. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. It's kind of Tanger Outlets over in Grand Rapids. So worth giving it a go. Awesome. Today, we wanted to talk about the differences between managing motels, boutique motels, versus like a single family home. So we have 5 differences here. So one of the big differences on managing a motel is the last minute stay. And when I look back at how we book a hotel, it makes perfect sense. For me and my family, typically we're driving. When we're booking a motel, it's like, hey, how far can we drive before we have to stop and get that motel? So it's usually within that last hour, and that's what we're seeing at the Windmore Lodge. Is 50% of the bookings probably come in within 1 hour or 2 hours of check-in time. So always have to be 100% ready to go to get them checked in and all that stuff. So just a little bit of a difference there. I would say on the single family home right now, we're getting, for the summer, we're probably getting booked up, 90 days in advance. Off season, we're probably getting booked up, between 30 and 45 days in advance. So very different than that 1 to 3 hours before check-in.
Yes, you got to be on top of your game. And also, if the listeners out here didn't hear, Tony was just on the Bill Faith podcast and he knocked it out. And Bill did mention, even for single family, seeing a lot of uptick in single night bookings. And so obviously with a hotel, we're open to that. But it sounds like there's been a pretty dramatic increase in bookings if you're managing single family and willing to go down to one night. So
yeah, that's definitely something we're gonna try out and see if we can see an impact there. I mean, I'm sure it's still one of those things where it's, hey, market dependent, but we do get quite a few inquiries of like, hey, would you book one night? Mostly those are on the weekend. I think Bill did say Sunday through Thursday is kind of when you'd want to do those one nights. So something to try out. And I think he said within 2 weeks. So if you're not booked up, during the week, 2 weeks from now, within 2 weeks, Sunday to Thursday, make it one night minimums and see if you can get some bookings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think most people's fear is that people are going to just come on Saturday night and throw a raging party. And so if you're doing the weeknight bookings, probably a lot less likelihood that that's going to happen. So,
yeah. And number 2, so the property management software seems pretty different on the motel side. It could just be that I'm so used to using the property management software that we use, which is OwnerRez. But one thing that seems very different, at least with the property management software we chose on the motel side, is that, on single family homes, the property management software is the source of truth, right? So you build out this, the property management software, then you push it to all the OTAs, right? You push it to Vrbo, you push it to Airbnb, and you only have to do it within your property management software. Well, on the motel side, the way it looks and the way that we're being told it has to be done is you build it out on your property management software. Now there it pushes it to Google, and it pushes it to your direct website. And that kind of stuff. But then you have to go into all the other OTAs, and you have to actually build out your property there as well. So if you think about Expedia, Booking.com, Airbnb, so you're not able to, currently, we're not able to push that information to those. So if you could just imagine how much of a pain in the butt it is to actually create a new listing, imagine having to do that multiple times. For some motels, it's probably not a big deal because you might only be doing, maybe you have 3 different rooms, right? For us, we made every room different. So we have to do it for every single room. And our motel is eight motel rooms and then a manager's quarters. So if you can imagine having to do it, call it 27 different times throughout 3 different OTAs,
Sounds like an amazing opportunity for somebody to build a better system. That's crazy.
Yeah, and there might be one out there. Again, this is the first one we've tried. We're already kind of considering maybe looking in different place to see if there's something better. But now we'll definitely know the question to ask when we're looking for a different platform is like, hey, is this able to push? So number 3. This one, I guess I didn't really realize how often this happened, just with it being, modern day 2025. A lot of people still want to pay cash. We'll get a lot of people. I think prior Motel was probably more geared towards the older demographic, and they don't want to put their credit card onto a website. They don't want to, a lot of times we're sending a link that they can input the information, a payment link. They don't want to put their information in there. They want to pay cash on site. Problem is, we're not set up to take cash on site. We're operating this motel remotely. And so, yeah, we have to say no to some people that only want to pay cash.
Yeah, I mean, it could be at some point we consider doing some kind of cash drop box, but without somebody on site to make sure the money's going in and it's the right amount, seems like there's also some risk there potentially. But
yeah, and I do know, like, when we started managing it and we were on site, the amount of cash that we actually got in at the beginning was quite a bit. So that was kind of nice to see cash coming in on a daily basis, like actual cash. But now that we're operating remotely, that is no longer feasible. What about that? Remember that hotel? Tell the story about the hotel down in Southwest Michigan. Obviously not naming it or anything, but
dude, I'm glad you brought that up because I was just about to say something about that. We should have anticipated it based on. So this was probably 2 or 3 years ago. There was a motel. I know we both look back on it all the time now and just wish we would have bought it. It would have been an amazing opportunity, but we just weren't really quite ready to take that leap yet. But we went and met with the owners, sweet couple, and we're trying to get to the bottom of their books to figure out, like, what is this place worth and evaluate it. And they had this person went into the back room, like literally right behind an open window that they check people in at, and comes out with this big box of cash and trying to say, well, this is about how much we made. And they were my guess is not claiming all of the cash money. They were just claiming what was coming in through the other payment systems. And so to try to evaluate it was a trip. But this woman literally pulled out a box full of cash and opened the lid and just stacks of cash in there. There's probably $40,000 or $50,000 in there. It was crazy.
Yeah. So that's wild.
Yep. So
that is
wild. Expect that if you're going to be doing a motel hotel, that a lot of people are coming with greenbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, midterm stay demand. So I think this is something, we knew a little bit going into it, that proximity for this motel is close to the college. We knew there was, a police academy. The college itself has different students that need a place to stay. But just last week, I think Ryan said he got 3 calls for longer term stays at the motel. And to me, it really wasn't expecting it to have that much demand. But I think what people are often looking for is just a very affordable place to stay. And they kind of think of these roadside motels as one of those those potential options. So yeah, the demand is there. I mean, honestly, that seems like it could always be a great backup option for some of these smaller motels, is just, hey, can you make sure that it has a kitchenette or has a small stove in it, and then they can, efficiency apartments essentially.
Yeah, we kind of lucked out with that one. I think for us, when we're looking at making these purchases, we did know going in that they had the things Tony mentioned. So I think when you're looking at analyzing deals, you really have to look a little bit outside of maybe your typical vacation traveler to see what kind of options you're going to have to fill those vacancies, again, especially in the off season. So really, we did expect some of that, and it's been refreshing to get those bookings. We've had four or five of the units pretty much booked out solid that are available right now. So
yeah, we've had a couple good midterm stays over the winter as well. And the good thing is, some of the college students that'll come to town is they only want it Sunday night through like Thursday, and then they're out for the weekend. You're like, oh, that's perfect, Or we have some new buildings, facilities going up there too, and it's kind of the same thing. Contractors come into work Sunday through Thursday, Sunday through Friday, and don't need it on the weekend, which is awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things, the next one was just expectations that maybe surprised us a little bit. We were a little bit nervous moving it from having somebody that's there checking people in to completely remote, of what kind of expectations may or may not be met. So we haven't really seen any change in that. So that's kind of been a refreshing surprise for us, that as long as you're communicating things well and able to respond, again, especially to those last minute bookings coming in, really the expectations haven't been any different than what we've experienced in the short-term rental side of the business.
Yeah, I think the big thing for us too is, like, on a single family home, if someone's checking in and something's not right, you really can't, especially if you only have one property. Obviously we manage more, so if we needed to, we could move them to a different property. But the good thing about, say, a small boutique motel or even a bigger one, right, is like you have more inventory. So if someone checks into this one room, they just come back to the front desk, hey, then you can move them over to there. Same with this, right? If something were to go wrong and we didn't meet the expectations for some reason on that room, we can just move them to another room. But if somebody's like, hey, we need new towels, technically, like, we have people that can come and do that, but the expectation is that, hey, we're not refreshing the linen, we're not doing a new room clean every day. And I think it's important too to make sure that you're very transparent about that up front. I've seen some great motels and they're very they do a really good job of like, hey, here's how to check in. Everything's check in remotely. Like, here's kind of the process. Here's what this looks like. So the more you can be clear about just what that process looks like, I think the better it'll be for your guests. But yeah, definitely doesn't seem that much different, at least from an expectation wise. I think the biggest expectation in the motel space is like affordability in economy. On the short-term rental side, it's like uniqueness and like, hey, dude, like, if it's a sweet place, we'll pay whatever it takes. On the motel side, it seems like it's more like, hey, dude, like, I need a affordable place to stay, and if it's cool, that's even better. So
yeah. So last one was just the fact that we were a little bit nervous whether or not we were going to need someone on site. And so our previous projects, we've had up to 5 units, and we've been able to manage those without people on site. This one's 9 units, and it's not fully operational yet, but it seems like, based on where we're at and the experience we've had, it's going to be fine not having anyone on site. So hopefully our next project is going to be a little bit bigger, and maybe we'll have a different experience. But so far, not having.
Well, that's the other thing. Well, like, I guess there's 2 ways you can look at that. So it's like, one, we can't afford to have somebody on site, right? Like, we can't pay. It's a 9-room motel, and I think you're probably getting into 20 plus before you can really like afford to staff it on a regular basis, right? Now we've heard of, and we were actually doing that right now, where it's like, hey, somebody could stay on site and they could clean the room to offset some of their bills and stuff. But obviously, unless if you're able to get 100% occupancy, you are paying something. If you're not able to get 100% occupancy, then you're not really losing anything by doing that. But that's one thing to keep in mind is like, it is a whole different ball game in terms of like, until you get to a certain size, you're just not going to be able to have somebody on site. And you almost have to, you know, unless Jordan and his family is going to go move up there and live in the manager's quarters, you know, then, hey, that's a possibility. But again, these smaller ones, it's just not something that's feasible. And we bought it from somebody that they were living in the manager's quarters, right? And they're checking people in and doing all that, cleaning the rooms, right? And I remember the first time I stayed up there, I mean, had issues, go to the front desk and get different sheets and all that stuff, you know? So, yeah. Yep. Just not going to be able to do that on the smaller ones.
Yeah. Excited for the next one to see what that level of economy of scale is, where it makes sense. The amount of cleaning, the amount of work being serviced to make sense to do that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, if you haven't picked up a ticket to the Michigan STR conference, head over to michiganstrconference.com. There's still a few tickets left over there. We got some great speakers coming from all over the country. We got some great sponsors too, Hospitable, IPEL Bookkeeping Solutions, and Delegate. They're all our gold sponsors. So make sure you check those out on the Michigan STR conference website as well. Sponsoring the conference, couldn't do it without those awesome sponsors. So, and I know one of the biggest questions we get to is like bookkeeping. So make sure you check out the bookkeeping solution that is sponsoring the conference and see what you think. So, all right, till next time.